It's it's gonna be May. Kamen Rider Gotchard got a cameo from Kamen Rider Legend. Hope you've watched it. TTFC exclusive now. Right now, it's canon. Oh man, I can't believe it. Like I had to binge watch so many TTFC specials. I had to watch 6 TTFC specials, Toei Tokusatsu Fan Club specials, just to understand what's going on in this episode, and I still don't know what's going on in there. Welcome to the Rider Time Podcast here on the Morphin Network. We're here to talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard, episode 33, Legend Rider, 100 years too early. Yeah, it's too early for me to be watching this. Oh man, I am not a fan of this episode. I mean, fan service. Yes, there's a lot of fan service. Not a fan of how it was utilized. Not a fan of how it was utilized. Like, one of the biggest issues is if you haven't seen Gotchard versus Legend specials, which there are 2 episodes of thus far, you will not understand half of what's going on here. And if you have not watched the 4 episodes of Outsiders, yeah, I'm going to keep it 100. Even if you have watched all 4 episodes of Outsiders, you still would not understand what's going on, because who the bleep is Zane? I mean, obviously they do explain who he is. Convoluted much? Imagine if Kamen Rider Zero was Lord Draken, but except he's a Kamen Rider, but he's also an AI. That's the best summary I could provide to you, because, and the thing is, the only reason I bring up Zane is because he happens to show up for like 15 seconds in this episode, and he has no reason to unless they plan on outright incorporating him. And as I've mentioned on the Rider Time archive, it's like, you need to do a damn good job of incorporating the extracurricular material into the main story if you want people to really care about watching both. Otherwise, either A, people are going to be confused, or B, people are not going to care. And yeah, this is a case of both, because it's like Geo. It took everything bad about Geo, which, don't get me wrong, Geo was not a terrible season, but the things I hated about Geo, they cranked it to an 11 in this episode, because Geo wasn't really about Kamen Rider Geo. It was actually more about Kamen Rider Decade. It had more, like, honestly, Tsukasa was more of a main character in Sogo's story than Sogo was. And here we are. Like, it's like the only purpose Gotchard has to exist here is to just make Kamen Rider's Legend and Kamen Rider Zane canon. And honestly, it's like, if you wanted to have like this decade ripoff of a writer become canon, why don't you just outright make a season based on him? I mean, Geo was already pretty much a sequel to Kamen Rider Decade. Why not make Kamen Rider Legend the 3rd installment of a trilogy and just make it a complete season while you're at it? Like it would have been so much easier than just making him an insert character for Gotchard. And it's like, the thing is, the only reason we know anyone in the only reason anyone is even aware of Legend or know anything about Legend is because if they watch the Toei Tokusatsu fan club specials. There's 2 episodes, one more time, and each one of those episodes is about 13 to 14 minutes long, which means you could have combined them into one half-hour episode and just leave it at that. And the thing is, nothing substantial to the plot of Gotchard even happens in the Legend special. So it's not like you would need to outright watch Legend other than to understand what's going on with Legend. And while we did not do a review of Kamen Rider Legend, we will do one eventually, because we gotta be careful, because if there's gonna be a 3rd episode within the next 20 weeks, we want to make sure that we've covered all of Legend and not like, oh, well, we got to backtrack, we got to do some residuals episodes. No, I don't want to do that. No, that's the benefit of doing Rider Time Archive for seasons before 01 is because any specials that they have already happened. So we can cover all of them outright, be done with them, and never have to revisit those seasons ever again. Anything pertaining to Kamen Rider Build, we never have to discuss Build ever again because we've discussed everything. And even though we briefly mentioned the Televikun special and the Rogue specials, we didn't have to do episodes on them because it's just clip shows, and we briefly discussed them offhandedly. So that's all there is to it. We're done. And then we did all 4 movies. We're done. Now we're doing Kiva. We did the movie. There's one movie. Climax Deck is more Deno territory than it is Kiva territory. King of Hell Castle. We did that. The Kiva Televikun special. We are gonna cover that briefly, not as a separate video, but we are briefly gonna cover it. But the point is, by the time we finish Kiva, we will be done with Kiva. And the same thing applies with every other Kamen Rider for the entire first 29 seasons of the show. And then when we revisit 01, yeah, we're going to talk about the movies too. And then once we're done with all of those 30 seasons, we're just going to wind forward, go over all the movies and specials from Saber onward that we've missed so far. Because on the podcast, the Rider Time podcast, we're just doing the TV shows from Saber onward. So there's that. Technically we also did 01, but we're gonna redo 01 because it's kind of not fair to just do all of the first 16 episodes in one sitting and then all of the next 13 episodes in one sitting. Yeah. Price for having to play catch up, but it is what it is. But here it's you don't really miss anything from Kamen Rider Legend. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But we know that the bad guys from Kamen Rider Legend do show up, and we know that there's a character named Butler who is played by the same actor who plays Kajiki, and it's gonna be a running joke. But the point is. So this episode leaves off where we previously left off, where a bunch of Handred, that's the name of the bad guys from Legend, Handred sentries show up. 3 of the bosses show up because a previous one was killed off. And yeah, that's where we're left off. Oh yeah, and also Clotho has a new darker form that makes her look like she's straight out of Mortal Kombat. So pretty much most of this episode is just them fighting. There's really not much else to it. They're just fighting. Just a bunch of fighting. 2 of the 3 members go after Gotchard, while the 1 female member goes after both Rene and Spanner. And yeah, the 3 of them can turn into past riders. So one of them turns into Dark Kiva, 1 turns into Eternal, and that 1 woman turns into Kamen Rider Glare. Yeah, Glare. Gazer and Glare have such similar names, and yet one of them's just a repaint of the other. But if there's one thing that we are reminded of in this episode is that both Glare and Geyser are inherently menaces because of those fears that pop out of their bodies and the way they are used to like take over people's minds. Because while Glare was fighting against Spanner and Rene's mind gets taken over, and so Spanner's on his own. We finally get an encounter between Kajiki and Butler, and too much Kajiki energy can be dangerous. But they all get rescued by Lachesis, who uses her Valve Saber to become Valvared. Not to be confused with Kamen Rider Valvared. So I have to remind you, too much Valvared energy can be dangerous. So, yeah, bunch of fighting ensues. Gotchard just shows off his progress. He's got the wrestling ant form, and then he's got the X-Rex form, the iron Gotchard form, platinum Gotchard form. He defeats Eternal. Eternal disappears. That went about as well as expected. While the fight in the warehouse was a lot more interesting, because in the warehouse we obviously we have the brainwashed Rene versus Valvared, and we have Glare to deal with. So Lachesis actually shows up, and then we get double Valvared action. That part is actually kind of cool. I like that. Two of them defeat their enemy kind of easily, but Clotho also shows up last minute to basically beat the brainwashing out of Rene. I'm not even joking. She just straight up beats up Rene until one of those spheres is just dislocated from her head, and she regains her memories, but she's injured. So this is a cue for Glare Chick to make a run for it. Lachesis briefly has a skirmish with Clotho. Clotho stops last minute and leaves, thus showing that maybe Clotho might still care about Lachesis. Is this a chance for her to have a redemption arc? Or is she going to be axed off? Which, may I remind you, I still believe that Clotho's probably going to be the first one of the three sisters to be murked. And I'm pretty sure, any sane writer is probably going to make it so that either A, Lachesis will have to tearfully kill Clotho, and then Atropos will have to vengefully kill Lachesis, or someone's going to try to kill Lachesis, but Clotho takes the blow for her last minute, and then she'll die in her place. Either way, I know Clotho's going to die first, because this is the way. This is the way. This is the way. This is the way. So that's 2 out of 3 villains defeated throughout the episode, and that's already almost the entire episode right here. And just when things seem semi-hopeless, because Dark Kiva tries to use the King's World Crash, which is a super powerful attack, he gets defeated by a henshin device. I'm not even kidding. He didn't it didn't even take Gotchard to fight back. It didn't even take Legend to come back. It just freaking that booster device that appeared in the beginning of the previous episode just randomly shows up out of nowhere and tackles him, and that just somehow interrupts his entire attack, just like that. It's silly. And of course, who shows up? It's Mr. Gorgeous. By the way, I would say there would be a gorgeous drinking game where you drink every time the word gorgeous is used in this episode. But 1, I'm not a masochist. 2, I'm not a sadist. So I would not wish upon myself. I would not wish upon others please don't play the gorgeous drinking game. Please be responsible. But before we get to that, while Glare is trying to escape, Zane shows up out of nowhere, shreds a Super 1 Kamen Rider card, and uses a Shaolin move to kill her. And I'm thinking, what is Zane even doing here? And like, the only reason I know this character's named Zane or where he's from is because I've at least seen scans of the character. Because again, up until this weekend, I did not even watch Kamen Rider Outsiders. I knew it existed. I know it's a bunch of villain Kamen Riders showing up, having a special together, namely Oja and Horobi. Yeah, Oja, Horobi, and what's his name? Thouser, Chronicle, and yeah. As cool as that premise is, I'm just not ready to commit myself to a bunch of Toei Tokusatsu fan club specials because there's a lot of them, and I haven't seen a lot of them, so I need time to catch up to them because, yeah, I kind of neglected most of those specials because, again, I need to focus on the TV shows. I don't want to fall behind. I don't want to binge watch them all at once just to catch up. And given the fact that for the past 5 years I've been doing this podcast, I'm in a position where I have to watch the show on a weekly basis. So I can't afford to try to lose any additional energy trying to keep up with the TTFC specials. So, sorry guys. Again, I will catch back up to them at some point. Namely, when I'm done covering all of the Showa and Heisei seasons on the archive. But this is where we are. So yeah, Zane shows up and he murks her. And again, if you've never seen The Outsiders, you have no idea who the hell this guy is. And because I know I have to do my due diligence for this podcast, I did go out of my way to watch the Outsider specials, and I have no idea what's going on with these. It's like watching the Yongo specials all over again. I like the idea of Drive, Zeronos, and Mach. Drive, Zeronos, Mach, and there was one more. Hold on. Drive, Zeronos, Mach. God, there was one more. Fives, maybe? No, but Takumi was a great leader, though. But the point is, having a bunch of past second writers form a team to prevent Groundhog Day from happening, that was a cool concept. Not gonna lie, it was a cool concept. But we're not here for that. And so, yeah, so Legend shows up. Mr. Kaguya shows up, and honestly, he's boring. The character's boring so far. I just could not get into him. I did watch both Kamen Rider Legend specials for this episode. He's a boring character. I learned nothing interesting about him during those specials. I did not learn anything new that's interesting about him here. And so, yeah, I do not care for him showing up. But yeah, so he uses his not Gambarai cards, but Kemi cards to turn into the first 10 Heisei riders with a little golden sash on him to fight off a bunch of before finishing off Dark Kiva. Well, he almost finishes off Dark Kiva. But last minute, he uses this new device that appeared in the beginning of the previous episode to gain a new form change, which is basically the final form ride. Sorry, the final common ride for Legend, where he has like a bunch of cards going down this giant crest, and then you have these two sashes with even more cards coming down. And I like, this looks almost as silly as Decade 21 Complete. And I actually do have the K-Touch 21. So, you know, that. Yeah. That's where the episode ends. Honestly, I think they could have handled this a lot better. I know I sound like a broken record talking about how Gotchard could have been done better, but it's like, who is Legend if you haven't watched the specials? And even if you did watch the specials, he's not a character I feel like I should care about. Like, he's just so bland. It's like, he's the light that's protecting this world of darkness. Okay, why? What's motivating him besides, I want everything to be glorious. Wait, what's the word glorious? But anyways, he's such a boring character. Like, Tsukasa Kudoya is more interesting. Sogo Tokiwa is more interesting. Even freaking Hotaro, who is as bland as sandpaper, has more of a personality than this guy. And again, I'm not trying to hate the actor. Like, he is a very attractive looking actor. Maybe he has decent acting skills, but the final product I'm seeing from this character feels like nothing I should care about. He's just a bland decade ripoff, and we could just as easily gotten Masahiro Noe to just come back as Decade. I know, like, he's the JDF of Kamen Rider. May JDF rest in peace. But like if he happens to show up at Toei Studio nonchalantly, they will let him in. They will let him cameo for no reason other than the fact that he just happens to be in the neighborhood. It's like he just happens to walk on set and they just keep rolling, you know? And I know he's going to be at Morphicon, and I can't wait to meet him at Morphicon, but this was filmed well before August of 2024, so there's no reason for him to, like, not be utilized. Instead of this poser, and again, I'm not trying to hate on the actor, I'm hating on the writing. And you know what would have made this a lot better? What if Kaguya showed up a few episodes earlier, established himself as a character, and I don't know, maybe he lost his powers and he has to earn them back. It's like, maybe not everything is glorious. Maybe we should work for it for once instead of having it be handed to you. This dude is like there's a, grandmother said this. The universe revolves around me. At least it's fun to think that way. This dude actually believes it. When Tendo Soji said it, he was being sarcastic. Well, not sarcastic. He was being facetious. But this was Tendo saying, "Hey, we should be humble because the world doesn't revolve around us, but we have to make the most of it." At least that's my interpretation of that quote. But this dude legit believes that everything is gravitationally pulled towards him. And I know this is kind of spoiling stuff from the TTFC special, but I have to bring that up because just to emphasize that this would have been an opportunity to give this character some depth, which he did not have any of in the TTFC special. But instead, he just randomly shows up at the end of the episode, and he just happens to, like, transform last minute. That's it. If any, like, obviously this is part 2 of a 3-part episode. But, if you're gonna have this extracurricular writer show up in the main story, at least anchor him down, make him someone worth keeping in the show. I mean, like, they could, like props to Gio. When Decade showed up, he could have just shown up for just 2 episodes and left like everyone else. No, he stayed as a recurring anti-villain or anti-hero or both. Honori Dikado. But instead, this dude just randomly shows up midway, not even midway, like 2/3 in, and we expect to care about him, and he doesn't do anything to earn our need to care about him. Like, I really hope that for some reason he loses his skirmish at the beginning of the episode, has some character development moments, and then he'll get around to where he uses final form correctly. Because otherwise, what's even the point of this character even being here? Not gonna lie though, the choreography in this episode was pretty much the highlight. I like seeing a Spanner and Lachesis working together as twin Valvareds. It's kind of reminiscent of Birth and Proto Birth working together. I really like that concept. Seeing a legend become the first 10 writers from the Heisei era, that was also pretty fun to see, if only for the fact that, yes, these 10 existed in the past. Because a lot of the marketing, even recently, had more to do with the next 10 Heisei writers as opposed to the first 10 Heisei writers, as if to say it's like, oh, we only care about these newer characters because they're more marketable. But, you know, by having like the original first 10 characters, one, it shows respect to the legacy that the Heisei era started, but also it kind of goes to show that Legend is more of a Decade ripoff than he is a Geo ripoff, and he very well could have been. And I still have to say, why not just bring Decade back? Why not just bring Decade back? Anyways, that's my little that's my rant. 9 out of 10. That's a better score than this episode deserves. But again, I'm mainly giving it a higher score because some of the fan service was not too terrible, and I do like seeing the old writers come back in some capacity, like Blade, Hibiki, Kabuto. They don't get that much love, you know. Like usually, we get a lot of focus on Ryuki and maybe Faiz, but how often do Blade, Hibiki, and Faiz, or Agito for that matter, get any? Sorry, Blade, Hibiki, Kabuto, and Agito. Like those four need more respect. Heck, Kiva, like we're discussing Kiva right now on the archive, so you know, there's that. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the episode. Let's see. Ooh, we got a nice number of these. Okay, Lachesis of Valvarad suit making look like it came from a Monster Energy logo. Did it? Let's see. Rene gets hacked by female glitter. Yeah, I know. Except, you know, I'm surprised they didn't just like put the helmet onto her body like they did with Punk Jack. Yes, too much Kachiki energy can be dangerous. Can't attack your little sister after getting so much power. Yeah, because, well, first of all, Lachesis is her older sister. Remember, Atropos is the eldest sister. Clotho is the youngest. So let's, this time, it's gonna be May. Yeah, I know. I know. There's this video with Justin Timberlake where it's like, what is a word that you mispronounce one time that haunts you for the rest of your life? And then you have Justin Timberlake saying, me. That's really funny, dude. Yeah, it's just laying on the ground, just Kaguya to summon it. Funny how it cancels the finisher by yeeting him. Yeah, pretty much. Can't wait for his class of, yes, gorgeous. That's the word. Gorgeous. Yeah, like drink for every time he says gorgeous, but don't. Because I don't want to be held responsible for your liver. 5 out of 10 because why was Zane doing there in the first? I know! Why? Why was Zane even here? Are they going to make Zane like a recurring villain? They better, because why else is he here? Why is he here? Can't wait for his class of gorgeous next week. Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, he knows that Hotaro is a Kamen Rider again. Memory wipe coming again. Yeah, that is true. That's true. There's a memory wipe. Ugh. Damn it. Oh man, I really hope Kajiki doesn't lose his memories this time, because like you'd think he would get some kind of permanent brain damage from being mind wiped so many times. In What We Do in the Shadows, this is a recurring thing. So yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoy me complaining about Kamen Rider Gotchard, because that's pretty much what I do all the time, every week on Wednesdays here, because there's rarely things I enjoy seeing here. And again, Kaguya would have been more interesting if he showed up a few episodes sooner, lost his powers, learned to be humble, and then earned his powers back. Like, that would have made more sense for the character, and it would make me care about him more, you know. Well, again, I hope you guys enjoyed me complaining about Kamen Rider Gotchard this week. Please be sure to comment, like, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Ding the bell icon. Stay notified for our latest videos. And be sure to share the videos, because it helps us out with the algorithms. On Mondays, we got Ultraman Tiga. We only have 2 videos left, the last 4 episodes and the movie. On Wednesdays, we do Kamen Rider Gotchard. Here we are. Here we go. On Thursdays, Bakage Sentai Boom Boomger. And then on Sundays, we have Kamen Rider Kiva. Also check out our sister channel, The Buttery Show. We do movie reviews, video game news, etc. And tomorrow I will be posting what our next project is going to be. So be sure to check that out. And if you want to find my personal content, you could find me on Instagram at Boken_Kawato and on twitch.tv/BokenKawato. With all that said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoy this month of May. And this time, I'll see you next time.